A snowboarder's terrifying ride is caught on camera ahead. How an early birthday present helped save him from this avalanche. Your local news is next.
All right, good morning. No problems today. Happy Friday, by the way. We're going to be into around 50 degrees today, give or take a few degrees. Steady temperatures falling tonight, setting us up for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be pretty dicey, especially through the afternoon. Things will get worse and worse. The morning hours, the rain showers, the freezing rain, the snow is all approaching. Could see some snow, mainly snow, but just a little bit of ice for areas off to the north. Could see even up to 1.5 inches of snow for some areas, but even just 1/10 of an inch of ice will make a big difference. We have details of this and your 7-day forecast. I know you want to see that because we do warm up next week into the 60s. That's on our WUSA 9 app. Ellen?
Allison, it's actually looking much better out there. We started this morning. It was pretty rough on the roads and the rails. This is a live look from Sky 9. Had some trouble on the outer loop of the Beltway when you pass by the American Legion Bridge. It's still going to be a little bit slow. You can tell this is the traffic coming down as you head southbound on the outer loop. In the inner loop, when you're trying to head northbound, kind of on the same area, you are going to be a little bit slow as well for an accident that was blocking a couple lanes by the Dulles Toll Road, but again, not as bad as you might normally expect during a rush hour. 270 Spur, if you're on the southbound lanes, there has been an accident close to Democracy before you get down to 270. If you're coming down on 270, though, starting in Frederick down to the Beltway to 355, a 47-minute drive.
Tell us what's on your mind. This is your city and your voice.
Inauguration 2017 promises to be very different from any other.
So we've gathered all the info you need on the WUSA 9 app.
From the train schedules to parking to the Women's March.
Download the app and check out the new inauguration section.
After all, it's your city and your voice.
Say hello. As CEO of ExxonMobil, Rex Tillerson put Exxon's interests before America's.
I'm not here to represent the United States government's interest.
Instead, Tillerson sided with Putin. With billions in Russian oil deals, he opposed U.S. sanctions on Russia for war crimes. Forced to pay hundreds of millions for toxic pollution, putting profits ahead of our kids' health. Tell your senators to reject Rex Tillerson and protect American interests, not corporate interests.
He should be able to transform Obamacare and turn it into something else.
This in place, it might have not have been good for some people, but it has been good for other people.
Deconstructing Obamacare is a very valid thing to do.
This is amazing video, guys. A helmet camera captured a moment that a snowboarder got caught in an avalanche in Canada. Scary stuff. And at one point, the snow completely covered Tom Oey. Luckily, he was wearing his early birthday present. It's an avalanche airbag backpack. Oey made this video to demonstrate how it works when he got it last month. The backpack inflates and helps to protect you as you go tumbling down the mountain. And that whirring sound you hear, that's the backpack inflating.
Yeah,
thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness indeed.
Somebody really likes you, Tom Oey. They gave you a great birthday present. Glad he's okay. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. Coming up in this half hour, President Obama leaves office in 7 days, a week from today. He's given his final network TV interview to 60 Minutes, ahead in part of Sunday's broadcast. The one thing he's advising President-elect Trump and congressional Republicans.
Plus, SpaceX has a lot riding on tomorrow's rocket launch. It's the first since a rocket disaster last September. Only on CBS This Morning, the company's president and chief operating officer on why every launch is nerve-wracking.
Time to show you some of this morning's headlines. The Wall Street Journal reports that Takata plans to plead guilty for producing airbags linked to 11 deaths in this country. The settlement calls for a fine of about $1 billion. That includes a $25 million criminal penalty, $850 million for restitution to automakers, and $125 million in victim compensation. Ford and Toyota just expanded recalls to fix the problem in their vehicles.
The Seattle Times says Amazon plans to hire 100,000 full-time employees within 18 months, and that would increase its U.S. workforce by more than a third. The jobs range from cloud computing engineers to warehouse operators, but critics say Amazon destroys more retailing jobs than it creates.
And USA Today reports on the Los Angeles Rams hiring the youngest head coach in NFL history. His name is Sean McVay, and he is 30 years old. Go Sean. He was the offensive coordinator for the Redskins. He helped Washington finish with the #3 overall offense this season. McVay says he is incredibly honored by the opportunity to lead the Rams. Los Angeles finished the season 4-12, so it looks like they need Sean McVay. But good for him, 30 years
impressive.
old. I think so too.
Yeah.
President Obama leaves office 1 week from today for his final network TV interview as Commander-in-Chief. He sat down with 60 Minutes correspondent Steve Kroft. They talked about the incoming administration and why he is not underestimating his successor.
You would have to admit that this is one of the strangest transitions in history.
It's unusual. I'll agree with that.
Well,
I suspect the president-elect would agree with that. Look, he's an unconventional candidate. I don't think there's anybody who's run a campaign like his successfully in modern history, not that I can think of. And as a consequence, because he didn't have the supports of many of the establishment in his own party, because he ran sort of a improvisational campaign.
Can you run an improvisational presidency?
I don't think so. And so now he's in the process of building up an organization. And we'll have to see how that works. And it'll be a test, I think, for him and the people that he's designated to be able to execute on his vision.
Look, I think that the country deeply appreciates the fact that you have not spoken clearly, I think, probably what's on your mind in relation to the president-elect. But
well, the people have spoken.
And I don't want to try. And I don't want people to think that we're condemning Donald Trump. But as you said earlier, it's unusual. He seems to have spent a good deal of his time sending out tweets that the United States must strengthen and expand its nuclear ability, that Meryl Streep is an overrated Hillary flunky. You're watching this like everybody else. I mean, what's going on?
You know, you're going to have to talk to him. But here's what I think. First of all, I think everybody has to acknowledge, don't underestimate the guy, because he's going to be 45th president of the United States. The one thing I've said to him directly, and I would advise my Republican friends in Congress and supporters around the country, is just make sure that as we go forward, certain norms, certain institutional traditions don't get eroded, because there's a reason they're in place.
Well, Steve Kroft is with us now. Steve, good morning. Congratulations. There's
morning,
a lot
Charlie, Gail. Morning.
You spent how long with him in this occasion?
Probably about an hour and a half.
How has he changed? We'll talk about Trump and the rest of the stuff later. You've seen him for a long time.
14 times you've been interviewed.
Yeah. I think that he says that he hasn't really changed, and I think that he takes pride in the fact that the same person that's leaving the office is the same person that came in, at least in terms of his beliefs. Obviously, he's been tested, and I think he's got some battle scars.
And he says he does the job better in the last 2 years than he did it previously.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's understandable. I understand.
Exactly.
What do we know about his conversations with the president-elect?
Almost nothing. He has been very tight-mouthed about it, and I've really heard no leaks. I think that they've decided to keep it absolutely quiet, except to talk about general areas.
But he told you he's. But that's extraordinary. You have no leaks, considering the sources that you have, Steve Kroft.
Right.
But I think it's interesting that the thing was so acrimonious, the campaign.
Right.
Is it forgive and forget, or has he set a tone, the president, 2 days after, saying, listen, he's now the leader, and we want him to succeed because we want the country to succeed?
I think given this last election, I think he believes that it's really important to be respectful. And somebody had made this point to me. This is one thing I had heard, that they did talk a lot about the election in the meeting, and that Obama was interested in it because, he won the election. And I think for Obama, it's probably not a small thing.
What he said about Trump is true about him. You don't get to be president without knowing something.
Right. And you get, and it is a very small club, and I think he's respecting the rules of that club. And I think also he has, as many people have speculated, has an interest in keeping a good relationship with Donald Trump so that President Trump can pick up the phone and call him if he needs advice.
As Bush 43 did with him.
Yes.
What does he regret?
I don't think he regrets. I think that he said that he's made some miscalculations. I think he said he underestimated the divisions in the country and the deep political partisanship that he was going to run into. He said he didn't think it was. He didn't quite say that he was a little naive, but it turned out to be more than he expected, and I think he was very disappointed in it, but hard to break through.
Wait,
you mentioned Mitch McConnell a couple of times.
I thought I cut you off. Sorry.
Did President Obama show you something in the Oval Office?
He showed me the original. He showed me some things he's got on the wall, a lot of personal stuff, pictures, and there's an original program from the March on Washington. Just things like that, things that people had sent him and given to him, all of which is going with him to his house in Kalorama. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Kalorama. Yes, Kalorama.
Where's he going on 20th when that helicopter takes off? Where are they going?
He's not going to say. The only thing he said was, not going to Chicago.
Okay.
So my guess is it's warm weather.
Yeah,
That would
I've
be
heard he
my
wants to
guess,
go
too.
someplace warm for a while.
I guess too.
And sleep. He's not setting an alarm.
Oh, is that what he tell you that?
He said he's not setting an alarm on the 21st, no matter where he wakes up.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Well, he's deserved that.
Yes.
Thanks, Steve. Great report. President Obama also discussed the Republican leadership in Congress and President-elect Trump's potential conflicts of interest. He also reflects on the biggest milestones and struggles of his administration. Watch it all on 60 Minutes Sunday at 7, 6 Central, right here on CBS.
SpaceX hopes to put a devastating rocket explosion behind it with a new launch ahead. We'll take you to the launch pad where $250 million worth of satellites are due to be sent into space tomorrow. You're watching CBS This Morning.
Can you come?